strategic plan. That, I'll turn it over to Doug.
Okay. Well, maybe I'll repeat a little bit here, but every year, as you know, we produce a new strategic plan. This starts actually in the April timeframe, where we take the strategic plan from 2015, give it to the other departments, all the departments, and they start working on a strategic plan, see if there's anything new to add, see if changes that need to be made that they recommend, look at our key project indicators, look at everything within it, see whether we should make changes to it. And then it comes back to the direct reports again, and we put it together, and this is kind of the result of that work. Now, as you also know, is that we started working on the original strategic plan, I don't know, 6 or 7 or
5 years ago.
That's as long as you've been here. But
That's right.
We've been a long time longer.
I think there was one that preceded that.
And over time, we've come up with a strategic plan, I guess, format that we're really feel good about it. And I'm going to review today just quickly the format. I'm not going to go into detail into all of it. As I mentioned, this is a draft at this point in time. And then in September, the commissioners approved the final strategic plan, and you get copies of it before the day you approve it to look at it. So a lot of effort has gone into it. So we don't see a whole lot changing year to year, but there could be some things that you might suggest to change to, or that some of the departments have come up with to make changes to. But in general, it stays pretty consistent. What changes completely is attached to this is our strategic projects matrix, what every year changes. So we'll have about 80 major type projects that each department's working on, and I'll show that at the end of this, that identifies what are the new projects, and the new projects are directly related to the strategic plan. And as we go into it, you'll see how that's related. So I'm going to move forward. I don't, any questions, I feel happy to speak up here. We have a strategic message to employees. I guess this is, we have 2 strategic plans, one which goes on our website to the public, and another one that goes to the employees. And the main difference is the message is a little different. And the other thing is the strategic projects are for the employees to do their jobs on a day-to-day basis. And that is constantly evolving. So this year, what we're trying to, as I mentioned in our annual employee meeting, we want to emphasize excellence. We're pursuing excellence is our kind of our direction for this year. So this opening message is pretty much just letting an employee know that we're pursuing excellence. Our customers expect excellence, commissioners expect excellence, I expect excellence, and you expect excellence. It's those expectations of excellence that make working at the PUD a privilege. So it goes on to kind of emphasize that. Then, of course, we have this in each of them. It shows what our mission is, what our vision is, and our mission's at the kind of the top with our core values, which are the ones we have up on the wall there, of being respectful, ethical, safe, proactive, excellence, customer-focused, and teamwork. And then we go on to strategic objectives, which are the broad defined categories which connect the district's mission and vision to its strategy. And then we're going to go through a couple examples I'm going to go through on the strategic objectives to show you how the picture of excellence ties in with it, the strategic initiatives tie in with it, and the strategic projects tie in with it. And we haven't really gotten to a real detailed performance appraisals tying into it all. We do have it for the managers, the direct reports. We're still working on it for the employees. So this shows an employee who's working on his everyday projects, how the strategic projects relates to the strategic initiatives, which relates to the picture of excellence, which relates to the strategic objectives, which fits into our whole mission and vision, so it's all tied together.
I'm sure you're gonna get to this, but you've got metrics that align with the strategic plan to performance.
Right, right. So moving on here, as we mentioned, 5-6 years ago or so, we had a balanced scorecard. We had a consultant come in and help us make up this balanced scorecard with the commissioners and with employees. And we came up with 11 objectives that, and since that time, I have not found anything that doesn't fit into one of these strategic objectives. So we have, in the top 3 that we say we have our vision again, being the best utility for our customers, and our mission, providing reliable, efficient, safe, and low-cost utility services in a financially and environmentally responsible manner. And underneath that, they all relate up to, again, our mission is for customers, providing stable rates, ensuring reliable supply, and practice environmental responsibilities. So those are what we feel our customers are looking at. Now, internally, what we do to help achieve these different objectives, which we'll go into in a minute on each one of them, is having continuous performance improvement, managing our resource portfolios, influence regulatory issues, and enhance customer partnership. That's what we do internally to meet these goals, objectives. And then some enablers that help us to do that. We have to have a safety culture. We're built on a safety culture. Safety's first. We've got that in our core values. We also have to attract and retain great people. If we don't have the great people working on it and knowledgeable people working every day, then it hurts all the other things that we're looking at above it. So it's important to have good, great employees. And then managing risks. We have risks that we manage continually, whether it's from the environmental side or whether it's financial side. We're looking at risks involved all the time. And then the foundation, the financial side, the foundation is to being financial responsible. Now, you'll see in a minute that every one of these objectives has its own sheet that goes with it that shows how we achieve those goals. We have a strategic plan and budget process. As I mentioned a little while ago, let's see, back in April we take the last year's strategic objective. We start looking at it from overall, from the direct reports. We send it to the departments. Departments spend time looking at it, seeing whether any changes, what should be made, what should be added to it. Comes back from the department, October time frame. We look at it, and then in November, December time frame, we present it to you. This is a draft. We are kind of right here. And then in December, we'll bring it forward to approve. And then at the end of December, the commissioners hopefully will approve it. And we'll have a new final strategic plan, budget, and any rate changes. And then it just continues through the cycle during the year, and then we start again next year for the following one. So that's the process that we follow. All this is based upon core values, which has again our mission, our vision, our mission. Each one of these I found as I work every day here and go through meetings, how important these core values are to us and our employees. And we do push them as far as, people deserve to be respectful with one another. Also, not just with people. This year I've been emphasizing a lot, respectful with the property that we own, respectful with our trucks and equipment that we have. Ethical, safe, again, safe's at the center of our core values. Proactive, excellence, customer focused, and team oriented. Those are all core values that we really want to stress to our employees that are important to doing their jobs. Then those strategic objectives again are repeated here. I won't go over that again, but it's the same as we had in our balanced scorecard. Then I'm just gonna go over 2 of the strategic objectives. All 11 of them have the same 2 pages. This one provides stable rates. We look at a definition of it, we look at a picture of excellence, we look at a gap to achieve the picture of excellence. And then as Will mentioned, we have key performance indicators, or how we do, and this is our measurement. And then we go to next page, strategic initiatives. How do we close the big gaps to get to the picture of excellence? I'm gonna go back here to this stable rate. So a definition is ensuring rates have low fluctuation, helps budgeting for our customers and the district, and with the district making financial decisions. So that's kind of the definition we have. The picture of excellence is the district provides stable rates to customers within 1% swing of previous 5-year rate adjustment. So that's what we're working towards. Now the average, and another one that we haven't, we've been talking about and we need to delve into deeper, is the average customer bill doesn't increase more than 1% per year through the use of conservation and efficiency efforts by the district and customers. So in other words, someone's bill could still go up maybe 3%, but because they're more conservative, they're doing their conservation, and we're more efficient, that their actual bill, their dollar value of the bill stays within the 1% per year. So we're looking at that too. So that's the picture of excellence, and 4 stable rates. And then to identify the big gaps to the picture of excellence. Uncontrollable cost pressures. Bonneville and conservation requires efficiency measures to be identified and implemented to control other costs. Right now, as you all know, Bonneville keeps every 2 years, they're giving us about an 8% rate increase. And that's has to be passed on because we're a cost of service, nonprofit organization. So the Bonneville, when they keep coming back with rate increases, those are passed on. We have very little control over that. Environmental and other regulations, changing requirements impacting our costs. I-937, they're pushing conservation and renewables. That has a cost that we don't have control over. We can manage it better. That's what we try to do. But basically, we have to do what's the law, which in I-937 is 2020 will be 15% of our revenue, our power, right? Equipment and facilities are getting old, and replacement programs underway is expensive. We've added our new building, we've added a substation shop, we've added engineering addition down there. And we're very fortunate that we were able to get the interest rates we've got in our bonds. We're very fortunate to get the low construction costs, and it's been on schedule, and it's been low change orders, so we've been very fortunate there. Changing staff needs, weather has significant effect on our water and power usage. That's one that we really encountered here lately in the last couple of years. I think John had done a study for Dave or something. Dave, he was saying that 80% of our loss in revenue is due to weather-related conditions. So that impacts us. We have a real cold winter, which no one really necessarily wants, but it helps from the revenue standpoint. But these warm winters hurts us. It was about a $2 million impact this last year because of the warm weather. Then key performance indicators, KIPS, how are we doing? We evaluate revenues within 3% of budget. Yellow is 4 to 8% of budget. Red is over 8% of budget. So those are indicators that we report to the commissioners every quarter to let them know how it's going. Water, revenues over expenses within 4% of budget. Yellow and red. So like a traffic light, it gives an indication, so when we come to the commissioners, we can let them know how we're doing. Then the strategic initiatives, how do we close the big gaps and get to the picture of excellence? Maintain and use the annual 5-year projection model for forecasting rates, capital, and other financing. We've been doing that, and that does help quite a bit, so that when we look at something, if we just keep pushing things out, it could have a big bubble effect, but we look out 5, 10 years, actually, we look out 10 years, and we can see how it impacts us over that time period to keep the stable rates again. I don't want to go over everything, but develop new cost centers, manage, track budget monthly, we do that in direct reports. Let's see, plan, design, and implement engineering projects and technology to reduce future O&M and energy procurement costs. So John and engineering is working on that. Plan, design, implement engineering project to replace aging infrastructure, and water as well has a big impact on water. So every single one of those strategic objectives has 2 pages, and on the 2 pages it gives those 3, 4 things that I was mentioning. It gives you the definition, it gives you a picture of excellence, it gives you the gaps to fill the picture of excellence, it gives you the KIP, the measurements, and then it gives you the strategic initiatives. So, I think, let me just, I won't go into details in each of these, but like the reliable supply, the definition of providing dependable and consistent products and services to our customer. It has a picture of excellence. It has identified big gaps to that picture of excellence. Like down here, one of the big gaps has been the vegetation management, which we've implemented, and it needs to be on a 1 to 5 year cycle. We're working on that right now, and it should be getting through it in the next, I think when they reported in that work session about the next 2 years, we should be on that cycle. Some trees need a 1 year cycle. Some trees can get by on a 5 year cycle. So that's what we're working on, to identify that and put our manpower on that when it's needed. GIS, Mike's working for that, and Mike said he'd never leave until that was done, so. We'll hold him to it. Aging infrastructure, which was mentioned earlier, is a big problem for water as well as electric, and we're on a constant cycle to replace and keep our good infrastructure. Now for electric, we do have some information from APPA, American Public Power Association, which gives us some indicators so that we can use that, compare it to other utilities, and that's one of them. Revenues, expenses, and water, it's a little more difficult. Mike came up with overtime and amount of overtime work to give us the different indicators.
And you look at these indicators quarterly. What do you do? Trending, so you can take corrective action if things are.
We usually, when we see a problem, we'll report to you what the problem has been, and then what we're doing to correct the problem. And some of the things that might just be like, was a big storm this quarter, and that put us above the 250 red mark and or red light and electric. But next quarter it'll go down to green again. And it doesn't mean it's necessarily something that's terrible. It just means that we know it exists, and if we can work on it, we will. And if not, we at least identify it, and there's a report on it. Right. We've got a lot of trees out there, a lot of birds and squirrels, and even some snakes that get to us. And then this one for reliable supply also has strategic initiatives. How do we close the big gaps to get to the picture of excellence? And electric, we have things like use the outage management system to help evaluate economic upgrades to the system. Now engineering use that really intently with our responder system to identify everything that happens and why it's happening, and then John and the group can start designing where we have a high rate of occurrences. They can design to help offset that, and we hit the higher priorities that way. Also for telecommunications and water, we have different things. So I'm just going to whip through the rest of them. Environmental responsibility is another one. Again, it says 2 pages. Continuous performance improvements, another one, has 2 pages. Now this is on our website for It's on our intranet for our employees, and it's on the website for the customer. 15 is up for the customers now, and at the end of the year, after this is all approved, the 216 will be up for the customers to look at and the employees. So again, manage our resource portfolio, influence regulatory issues, enhance customer partnerships. We do a lot of things to help educate the employee or the customers. Got some new pictures in there each year to spice it up a little bit. We've got build on our safety culture. Attract and retain great people. We do a lot to train our people. We have a lot of incentive to not only on the job training, but education across the area. APPA has training, so does NWPPA. So our employees get a lot of good skill training. We have some employees that are seeking degrees through our plan, so it's very good for retaining employees. Managing risks, another one. And finally being financially responsible. So then to find a little history about PUD, Clallam PUD, and we have our 75th year that we served here, and it was just this year, our 2015, so this is kind of serving the county for 75 years. Let me see, I think I'm over here, so there I am, right there. Okay, so that pretty much ends the discussion on the strategic plan. And again, we'll bring that to you again and give you time to look it over. And I do want to discuss one thing regarding this before I move to the next one, although I guess we could do it the next one. I've been talking to Fred a little bit. One thing that, we're doing a community solar.
We're considering.
I guess it depends on whether the community wants it, right? We'll have a community solar available for the community to participate in, and we're not sure yet how much participation will be. As you know, our community solar is a little bit different in that we're pretty well to our limit on his tax credits.
Right.
And so if we go over that, then everything has to be re-portioned down to a lower level. So before we got to that point, there was a payback of like 5 years for that. Once we get above that point, it gets portioned out, and it will go to more like a 20-year payback. So that's why we're not sure how much participation will be. And Jefferson, I think, is the only other utility in Washington that has so much solar that, or has reached their tax credit, that they're in the same position that we are. The others are still not there yet, so their payback's still 5 years, but eventually they'll get there, and they'll have to start doing the same thing.
So how many benefits will we get from our community solar? Do we get?
Sorry, the main benefit, and Fred can add to it, is the community can participate. So some people who are maybe in apartments or in covered, but want to be part of the green solar, they can participate, whereas now they wouldn't be able to participate.
So we don't get the other benefits, we don't get any credits or anything like
No,
that?
the renewable attributes stay with the customers.
And that's
Do we gotta
something-
divide it among all of them?
Excuse me,
Go ahead.
community thing, would then each of the participants get a credit? Is that how the,
Right, so,
in other words, if there's no benefits to the customer or the utility, why would you?
well, it's not that there's no benefits to the customers.
I don't
It's-
feel good. I mean,
Well, okay, they'll get, or the model is that they would receive a net billing credit just like they would if it was on their home. So, if they have 1/10 of the output of the community solar project, and that amounts to 1,000 kilowatt hours, credit on their monthly bill and offset their retail rate purchases.
And they still get the federal income tax break
I
on
don't think-
participating?
I don't think so. Because they haven't made the capital investment.
How do you gauge how this will be subscribed before you go forward?
So what we're doing, we met with the city SQUIM a couple weeks ago and didn't run into any major hurdles other than.
Participants have to be willing to participate.
Right. So we've determined we have a location where it can be constructed. We're now putting together cost estimates to build. We'll work with MyCow to get that information out to consumers and gauge interest from, and ask what sort of interest there is and find out.
How come they're not getting a tax benefit though? They're gonna put the money up to build it, right?
Right.
So wouldn't that,
You know, that's a tax question, so I don't know the answer to that for sure, whether they get the federal tax credit.
what is the federal tax credit now?
And it's
Next
going away.
year is the last year for the federal tax credit.
Oh. If you do it this year though, do you still get it?
Yeah.
Just for 1 year though.
Just 1 year?
I mean, an individual would get it. I'm not certain whether a participant in a community solar project has that equity position that would qualify them for the federal tax credit.
Well, we probably should check that out.
We
so
will.
can tell people.
Yes.
Whether they get, what benefits they get from it.
So they won't have the equity position.
No, because we don't sell shares in it. They have a participant interest in a, number of units. It's still owned by the PUD.
Oh, it is?
Yeah.
But they can transfer their, if they wanted, they can transfer their share, let's call
They
it.
could.
So we don't get any energy credits or credit for the energy generated by solar.
Well, the district would buy less monocule power.
Which is less expensive than,
But the participating customers are paying for it. So, it works just like a rooftop solar. They make an investment, they get a credit of their retail rate, and that's the benefit that the customers get. Now, they make an investment, and the economics are based on current energy prices, what's gonna happen to the retail rate, 15 years into the future. Those are kind of things that we have to kind of model out and show to customers what the potential might be.
So you're gonna put together a business case before you go to the customer. That's logical.
So
And of course, in the cases where they were paid off in 5 years, pretty good business case.
Yeah.
Right.
And every year after that, they get that savings in their pocket.
But all the studies have shown that, the participation, it's not an economic decision for most of them.
Yes,
There's many other states where they don't get any payback and they still have people jumping on board to sign up for it.
Oh, really?
Well, we're watching Flathead Electric in Montana has offered a community solar project, and after 2 months, they've gotten 25% of the capacity signed for. Now you compare that with a Benton or a Franklin, where the payback is 3 to 5 years. That thing is fully subscribed within weeks, and they've got a waiting list. So that's the difference between 3 to 5 year payback and 20.
That would do it for me.
That's right.
Where would this project be?
We are currently looking at property that we own. It's just west of the Johnson Creek substation.
that's right near the mouth of the hole. No.
Johnson Creek.
So that's one thing we're doing, part of a strategic plan to move forward on and see if the community is interested in it, and then we will bring that to you, and if they are, or I guess we'll do that before we get to that point, but we'll go forward with that. Another thing that we've talked about is if you pass down those seen this a number of times, that electric power is, and this is the state of Washington, the carbon emission is about 17%, whereas transportation is about 55%. It's a big part of it, but they're continually looking at us, at the electric power, reducing our carbon level because
We can't take on the transportation.
Right. Transportation impacts everybody, all the voters too, you know. But anyway, so one of the things we've been talking about is the possibility of maybe get on board and be more proactive on electric vehicles and stuff, and having, working with the customers, working with people if they're interested in, anything that we can do to help promote that. We do have some EV stations, or not we, but in the county that we're aware of at some point in time, if there's something more that we can participate on it. So it's kind of in a studying mode at the moment. It's not.
Do they make electric trucks that we use? I mean, the type that we use?
Not that you probably want to use.
Okay.
You need the power to get up the hills and the mountains.
Exactly.
And
Make
lift
the
up things.
booms lift. And
But maybe like meter readers and engineering trucks or something. I don't know if they have four-wheel drive electrics, but.
Are we gonna stay with meter readers?
Sure. We're still working on the whole plan. That's part of our strategic plan here. We have meter readers that are doing their job, and they're still the most economical way to get the job done. So
Okay.
that's what you guys asked us to look at, is the economics, and that's what we'll continue to do.
So you are looking at it just to make
Sure.
sure, okay.
So, anyway, this is another thing that, just to make you aware that we want to look at, see how we can participate. I'm not necessarily saying so much that we'll do electric, maybe we can do electric where it fits. But we want to have a place where the customers maybe can come if they have questions about electric or charging and stuff like
And
that.
this is Washington Electric Power, 17% is still, that must be all of our vehicles. It can't be
No,
the
electric power, yeah, well, we have the coal plant that's down in Centralia. We have a lot of gas plants. Clark has, I wouldn't say a lot of gas plants. We have gas plants.
Oh, okay.
Clark
And
has.
some of the power that Bonneville purchases.
From Montana and so forth.
That all counts, and our fuel, when it shows our fuel choices, it shows coal, it'll show wind. You guys always wonder why we have coal in our
Now, this, the state wants to call all of the what's the term they use, unspecified power as being coal generated?
Yeah, market power.
That's not, this number doesn't reflect that, does it?
I don't know.
So
It might even
could be
reflect for
inflated.
trucks too, I'm not sure. It's just kind of, this was 2012, but it hasn't changed a whole lot, the end of 2012.
Right.
But, something they're always looking at.
No.
So we just, want to start looking at that, see if there's anything that we as a PUD can help our customers with and be available for them.
But it really ties to the picture of excellence on environmental responsibility, because our strategic direction is to meet the standards, and we haven't elected to make all of our load growth met through renewables and those kinds of things that tend to drive cost up. So we have a statement that the district seeks to identify and implement low-cost actions that enhance environmental responsibility beyond minimum regulatory requirements. So it's, what are they, and how can you do them in a low-cost way
Yeah.
that contributes to these kinds of things?
But we still gotta deal with what's gonna happen in 2020, where we get 15% has to be renewable. We've only met it for 1 year.
Right.
Okay.
And a portion of it beyond that.
Okay.
Right.
Bill, the Senate bill, I think Tim Sheldon is one of the sponsors, called for utilities could do anything for carbon reduction and get credit for it in 937, like the electric vehicle charging stations. Do we have any feel for how that's going, or it's any support, it was stopped in the House, pass it. But, you know, I guess what my concern is, we could push out there and do some things that maybe we would get credit for if that bill ever passed. It'd be kind of like the conservation issue. So,
And I don't know, I guess we'll wait for that to come back
yeah,
again.
to be determined, I guess.
I don't think it's been brought up again. Maybe this week we'll be down, well, I'll be down at the PUD Managers meeting, and you'll all come, I guess, to the Energy Northwest. Maybe we'll hear more about it down there too. Now, from the strategic plan, we have our department look at what strategic projects fit with that strategic plan. So here's a list, I don't know how many there is this year, but we've had like 60, 80 projects or so in the past. And you can see on the second column here who's kind of responsible, the lead, what we call the department lead, when they've got their original due date for the projects. Over here, the priorities. The first one, the 0 is actually required, so if it's something that is required by the county or something we're moving, like when we did all that work on Highway 101, that was suddenly thrown at us and we had to make it, it was a requirement that we had to get it done. Here's a spill prevention program that Quimby's got here, which we need to finalize, so that's a requirement. He's got some others here on Black Diamond, and I'm not sure of all the reasons for the requirements here, but we haven't met with the departments yet to go over this, but we still, as direct reports, we still need to go over these and just question them and find out whether they fit the budget. They are part, the people who have done this know that it's part of the budget process. So most of these are in our budget so far. We have to trim more, than some of these might be trimmed out of it. I've got the one about pursuing excellence for myself. Larry's looking at establishing an employee safety incentive program. So what we do during the year is each quarter, we'll be putting down here whether it's complete is the blue, whether it's on track is green, whether it needs attention, which is a recovery plan, comments required is yellow. Red is off track, recovery plan required. Suspended, in some cases, we were given some projects that caused other projects to be pushed out. We had some more customer projects that came up this last year that pushed out some of our projects. And then there's some new like the customer projects, the purple will be added. So this will show in these different rows of whether they're on track or complete and so on and so forth. And what we also do is have them put the percentage that the project's complete. So it might be green, might be on track, but it might show 10% inside the green, which means it's on track, but it's only 10%, or it might be, 50% by third quarter and hopefully 100% by the end of the year. And the budget that goes with it. And over here, we are looking at what you just saw previously, which is how are the strategic project associated with the strategic objectives. So like I was saying in the description there, all strategic initiatives or projects here have to relate to one of these strategic objectives, and in the past we always do. You can see that this one hasn't been completely filled out yet. There's one here, I'll go down to one that's, let's see, what am I saying here, row 18 is working with the city on different things, and this shows how it impacts whether it's impacting stable rates, whether it's impacting a reliable supply, and so on and so forth. So that kind of identifies how we're fitting into our strategic objectives. Here, I guess this is notice to them, they need to work and fill out that, the right side of the form over here if they haven't done it yet. And then what we'll do as time goes on, each quarter, we'll be changing, and this is like for stable rates, there's an electric key performance indicator, and there's a water one. So that will show that as like green or yellow or red. And so we'll have a real quick, this gives us a real quick look on how all the things interrelate with each other, and for that quarter, how they're doing, whether they're on track, whether we need to look at it more attention. And if it shows it in green or red phase, then we know this is the strategic objective that it's impacting. So it's a pretty handy chart, and it ties everything together with our strategic plan, and we've been working on it. Here's Carlsberg Booster Pump Station, here's all sorts of projects that John and Jamie's in here too, working on health care reform, continue to evaluate the impact to the district. These are all next year projects.
How's that working out? Are we still on Cadillac plan? Or-
Yes.
Okay.
We're still evaluating that,
Okay.
trying to estimate what is going to be presented to us in 2018.
We go into negotiations with the union next year, so we'll be working on that and modifying that how we need to.
Has firms helped you with trying to figure out a solution to this?
Yeah, they're giving us a lot of information with
Okay.
with our meetings, having speakers come in and assist and keep us updated on the changes.
When do we have to do something about the plan? Do we have it?
Well, 2018 is when the tax will hit us, so I think next year will be a great time to kind of evaluate our plan and maybe do a mini audit on it to see where we're at and where we're directly going to be impacted.
What the cost is going to be?
Yeah.
So I went through these pretty quick, because you've been through it many times before. If you have any questions, I've got the direct reports here to answer them. Dave had to run to a doctor's appointment, but everybody else I think is here. And so we can do that. If you want a copy of it at this stage, I can get you all a copy of it, whatever you would like. Anything else you want added? We can add.
One thing that would be, I think, of interest and help us in the future with our planning is if we knew the makeup of the 17% of the carbon emissions from generation, maybe what to avoid if we can, where we might be able to help reduce that number. And also anticipate when some of that stuff will be, like the Cincinnati coal plant is scheduled to be out of business by 25, I think.
Yeah, I made that comment to, Dave Warren down at Pluto about the coal plant. I was thinking this is mostly all coal plants, but he was saying that only maybe 2 or 3% of it, of the coal plant. So that would be good to know. We can find that out.
Well, and what Bonneville has 4% of their power is
Is that coal strip?
Well, I just think that they recognize about 4%, or used to be, of their generation is carbon emitting. Whether that's gas or coal, or how they get there, I don't know. But it would be, yeah, it's interesting to follow like the coal strip legislation that's, and how expensive that's gonna be for us as well as them.
Okay, we'll check that out.
So what do you, you had this finalized by We'll bring it back to us for some final version.
Yeah,
This is the
and,
first
well, we'll
one.
be working on it in November, and then we give it to you or it'll be final in the final budget meeting, I think Nicole said was December 12th. I'm at 14th, I guess, it's
Yeah.
December 14th. And so we can get that to you a few weeks ahead of time.
It really would be helpful to know how that 17% is broken down.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
I think it's just a lot of vehicles.
And whether,
Well,
no, and then whether there's much we can do about it. As
Well, that's- yeah.
requirements customer of Bonneville.
Sure.
And the big rub will be, what kind of legislation? Is it a carbon tax? Is it cap and trade? Is it in addition to I-37? I mean, all of those things will,
That's right, become.
Or all of the above.
or all of the above.
Yeah.
Which is a very good point.
I would wager that undefined or unidentified power combined is included.
Yes.
Because that's a big number, can't just be fleets.
Yeah. So I do have all the direct reports, if you have any questions or other comments.
I bet
Tell them
you,
how great they're doing.
I bet you a piece of my birthday cake that number isn't 17%. Really, when you get into it.
Got me interested in see what
Do you
the-
think it's higher or lower?
I think it's gonna be lower.
Yeah, that's what I think.
Or it's gonna be so superficially loaded like with, if
Right.
you put our transportation into that number and not in the other number, that doesn't seem right, you know, transportation. But it'll be interesting to see how it's established.
Where'd this come from, the source?
It came, I think it was an EIA, what is that, Environmental Impact Agency or something that does a lot of.
EIA.
Pardon?
From the EIA.
EIA?
The Energy Information
Agency of Information.
It's a federal agency.
Yeah, and it has, I mean, they do on every aspect of energy.
Suspect right there.
This one, I think, was out of an article in November 2012. And I've seen this same percentage in
Oh,
the
yeah.
past when we talked about it.
It's changed very close.
Yeah,
It'd just be interesting to know how it's made up, what they may consider to be related to power generation, may not. Yeah.
Well, Vista has a lot of coal power in there, right? And they'd be included.
Yeah, my guess is that includes the investor-owned utilities.
It does.
Yes, well, yeah.
So it would be higher.
So that's where a lot of it does.
And out-of-state purchases.
Mhm.
Coal strip is one of the big ones. So that's all I have. Any of you have anything to add?
It's on, APPA, Daily News, that there's a nuclear plant in Massachusetts that's closing down, and they're gonna have an auction.
Radioactive tools, that's good.
All the nuclear fuel you can carry. Yeah, they can't compete with that cheap gas.
Yeah.
$2 gases.
And then we put all our eggs in one basket again, and we're in trouble again.
Yeah, it's-